There is a very specific, quiet kind of exhaustion that you carry with you every single day. It is not the physical fatigue of a hard day's labor, nor is it the simple need for a few more hours of sleep. It is a profound spiritual depletion. It is the heavy, suffocating weight of constantly smiling when your jaw aches with the effort, of nodding in agreement when your entire being screams in silent protest, and of swallowing your own truth just to keep the peace. You have spent your entire life playing the role of the exceptionally nice person. You are the one who accommodates, the one who bends, the one who effortlessly sacrifices your own comfort to ensure that no one around you ever feels the slightest friction. And yet, in the quiet moments when you are finally alone, you do not feel virtuous. You feel entirely empty. You feel a creeping, undeniable resentment toward the very people you work so tirelessly to please. We need to dismantle a devastating lie that you were handed the moment you were old enough to understand language. You were taught that being a good person is entirely synonymous with being a harmless person. You were conditioned to believe that morality is defined by your ability to avoid conflict, to repress your anger, and to gracefully accept whatever hand you are dealt without making a scene. Society, your upbringing, and the culture at large handed you a silent contract. If you are endlessly nice, if you never raise your voice, and if you completely erase your own rough edges, the world will recognize your goodness and reward you with respect and fair treatment. You signed this contract in good faith. You played exactly by the rules, but the universe has not held up its end of the bargain. Instead of being shielded by your niceness, you have slowly come to the chilling realization that your harmlessness has painted a target on your back. In the real world, the absence of boundaries does not inspire gratitude. It invites exploitation. When you project an aura of total accommodation, you inadvertently send a beacon to every manipulator, every narcissist, and every parasitic personality in your radius. They do not look at your endless patience and see a saint. They look at your inability to say no and see an endless, unguarded resource. They see a territory with no walls and no defending army. You have been waiting for your niceness to act as a protective shield, but it has only ever functioned as an invitation for predators to walk right in and take whatever they please, leaving you to quietly clean up the wreckage of your own life. The anxiety you feel, that constant low-level buzz of panic tightening your chest, is not a malfunction. It is the desperate alarm system of your own biology begging you to stop betraying yourself. You have taken a massive, vital part of your human psychology and locked it away in the darkest basement of your mind. Every time someone disrespected you and you swallowed your natural protective anger, you shoved a piece of your own life force into the dark. Every time someone crossed a line and you forced yourself to apologize for their transgression, you buried your own strength. But buried psychological forces do not simply die. They fester. They mutate into chronic anxiety, into sudden, inexplicable bouts of depression, and into a bitter, passive-aggressive resentment that leaks out in ways you cannot control. You are terrified of your own anger, terrified of being perceived as difficult or mean, and so you have amputated the very psychological limbs required to stand upright in a harsh world. There is a profound psychological truth that you must now face. A completely harmless person is not a good person. A rabbit is not virtuous simply because it does not eat meat. It merely lacks the capacity to do so. If you are peaceful only because you are completely incapable of standing your ground, then your peace is not a moral achievement. It is simply a byproduct of your weakness. True goodness, true nobility of character requires the absolute capacity for force. It requires the possession of a formidable, dangerous edge that is kept under strict, conscious control. A genuinely good person is someone who knows how to be dangerous, who understands their own capacity for ruthlessness, and who actively chooses to hold that power in reserve until it is absolutely necessary to use it. To reclaim your life, you must stop running from the darker, more aggressive parts of your own nature. You must journey down into the basement of your psyche and unlock the door. The aggression, the assertiveness, the fierce and unyielding capacity to say enough, these are not evil traits. They are the psychological immune system of the soul. Without them, you cannot fight off the infections of toxic relationships and exploitative environments. You have to integrate this shadow self. You must realize that anger, when channeled correctly, is the pure burning fuel of self-respect. It is the fire that forges unbreakable boundaries. We are going to talk about how to forge this resilience. We are going to explore what it actually means to become psychologically dangerous, to command a presence so anchored in reality and self-respect that people instinctively know you are no longer a playground for their ego. You are going to learn how to transition from the fragile illusion of the nice person into the grounded, unshakable reality of a sovereign individual. It will require you to abandon the comfort of being universally liked and to step into the much more profound arena of being universally respected. To understand why you must undergo this transformation, you first have to understand how the world actually operates outside the comforting illusions you were raised with. There are individuals walking among us who view human interaction not as an opportunity for connection, but as a contest for dominance. These people possess a distinct psychological makeup. They are fundamentally driven by the need to win, to control, and to extract energy from their environment. When they scan a room, they are not looking for a friend. They are looking for a resource. And nothing signals an unguarded resource quite like the chronic people pleaser. Because you are highly conscientious, because you naturally experience guilt and possess a deep-seated fear of causing offense, you are essentially transmitting a frequency that predatory personalities are biologically tuned to receive. They know that if they push your boundaries, you will not push back. Instead, you will analyze your own behavior, wondering what you did wrong to upset them. You will try to communicate better. You will try to love them harder. You will do their emotional work for them, continually compromising your own reality just to maintain a fragile artificial peace. This dynamic traps you in a cycle of profound internal division. You have essentially fractured your own identity into two distinct pieces. On the surface, there is the mask you wear for the world, the endlessly accommodating, smiling, unbothered persona who never demands too much and always goes with the flow. But beneath that carefully constructed exterior lives your actual self, swimming in a sea of unspoken resentments, swallowed insults, and silent desperation. The gap between who you appear to be and who you really are inside is the exact space where your exhaustion lives. It requires an immense continuous expenditure of psychological energy to keep the walls of that gap pushed apart. You are burning up your own life force to sustain a performance that benefits everyone but you. You have been told that this self-denial makes you a good person, but in truth, it simply makes you a hollow one. You are living a vital lie, terrified that if you let the world see your genuine boundaries, your authentic anger, or your absolute refusal to be used, you will be rejected and abandoned. But what if rejection by the people who merely want to use you is exactly what you need? What if being disliked by a manipulator is the highest compliment your character could ever receive? This brings us to the absolute necessity of becoming dangerous. To be dangerous in this sense has nothing to do with cruelty, malice, or causing unprovoked harm. It is the exact opposite. It is about developing an internal psychological architecture so dense and unyielding that no manipulator can ever find purchase within you. It is about possessing the capacity for absolute, unflinching assertiveness. You must journey into the depths of your own mind and retrieve the vital survival instincts you were taught to suppress. You must reclaim your aggression, your indignation, and your protective ferocity. These are the energies required to establish sovereignty over your own life. When you integrate these darker, heavier elements of your psyche, you stop being a fragile leaf blown about by the demands of others, and you become a deeply rooted tree. You achieve a state of psychological wholeness. A person who is whole is inherently intimidating to those who seek to exploit weakness. When you stop hiding your strength, your entire physical and energetic presence changes. You no longer walk into a room hoping people will approve of you. You walk into a room observing whether the people inside it meet your standards. You no longer engage in the frantic, anxious dance of trying to preemptively soothe everyone's moods. If someone chooses to cross a line with you, you do not smile and pretend it did not happen. You look them directly in the eye and you deliver a perfectly calm, entirely unapologetic refusal. You become comfortable with the pregnant, heavy silences that follow a firm boundary. The manipulator will test you, of course. They will try to pull your emotional strings using guilt, shame, or sudden outbursts of anger, hoping your old programming will kick in and you will revert to submission. But because you have embraced your own capacity for psychological combat, you simply observe their tactics with clinical detachment. You recognize that their anger is not your responsibility. Their disappointment in your refusal to be used is not your problem to solve. This is the construction of your inner citadel. You draw a permanent, non-negotiable line between what is under your control and what belongs to the chaotic world outside. You realize that you cannot control whether someone attempts to manipulate you, but you have absolute, sovereign authority over whether you grant them entry into your mind. By withdrawing your need for their validation, you instantly bankrupt their power over you. You starve them of the emotional reactions they so desperately crave. When they realize that their guilt trips are met with indifference and their subtle threats shatter against your unwavering self-respect, they will recognize the profound danger you pose to their agenda. A truly dangerous person cannot be coerced because they do not fear standing entirely alone in their truth. They would rather be isolated in their own integrity than surrounded by parasites in a state of compromise. Stepping into this power feels terrifying at first because it requires the shedding of your old, compliant self. Your nervous system, which has been addicted to the anxious rhythm of appeasing others for decades, will scream in protest. It will tell you that standing your ground is a mistake, that you are being too harsh, that you should just apologize and make things smooth again. You must endure this withdrawal. You must sit in the fire of that discomfort and let it burn away the remnants of your weakness. Let the fire burn. When you first begin to assert your boundaries, you will not feel a sudden, victorious rush of empowerment. Instead, you will likely feel an overwhelming, suffocating wave of guilt. This is your conditioning fighting for its life. For years, your nervous system has equated saying no with being a bad person, with inviting abandonment, and with causing catastrophic emotional harm to others. Your mind will desperately try to convince you that you are being selfish, cold, and unreasonable. You must understand that this guilt is a phantom. It is a manufactured emotion, a leftover reflex from a lifetime of being trained to prioritize the comfort of the crowd over your own fundamental survival. You must endure this psychological withdrawal without flinching, because the moment you revoke your endless compliance, the individuals who have relied on your weakness will initiate a relentless campaign of resistance. They will not let their favorite resource vanish without a fight. You must be prepared for the reality that these individuals rarely challenge you with open, honest hostility. Open hostility is risky. It exposes their true intentions and gives you a clear reason to walk away. Instead, they will deploy a highly sophisticated arsenal of covert aggression. They will fight you underhandedly, cloaking their desire for dominance in the deceptive garments of concern, confusion, or victimhood. When you draw a line in the sand, they will act deeply wounded, expertly playing the role of the injured party to trigger your overactive conscience. They will use subtle shaming, implying that a truly kind, loyal, or loving person would never behave as rigidly as you suddenly are. They will utilize selective inattention, conveniently forgetting the boundaries you have clearly stated, forcing you to constantly repeat yourself until you are drained of the energy required to enforce them. The greatest advantage a manipulator possesses is your own mistaken belief about human nature. Because you possess a conscience, because you experience remorse and strive for mutual understanding, you project these same qualities onto everyone else. When an exploitative person crosses your boundaries, your instinct is to play amateur psychologist. You assume they must be acting out of some hidden fear, a difficult childhood, or a profound insecurity. You tell yourself that if you can just be a little more patient, if you can just explain your feelings clearly enough, they will finally understand how much they are hurting you and change their ways. This is a devastating illusion. You are projecting neurotic vulnerabilities onto someone who is, in reality, a deeply disordered character. They are not hurting you because they are terrified or insecure. They are hurting you because they want to win, and because trampling your boundaries is the easiest way to maintain their position of power. They do not lack the capacity to understand you. They simply lack the desire to respect you. Your instinct, when challenged or misunderstood by these personalities, will be to defend yourself. You will feel a desperate urge to lay out the facts, to argue your case, and to prove that your boundaries are justified. This is the ultimate trap. The very moment you begin to explain, justify, or defend your right to have a limit, you have already surrendered your power. You are implicitly asking for their permission to exist as an independent human being. A psychologically formidable individual does not ask for permission to command their own reality. When you argue with a manipulator, you are stepping onto a battlefield that they designed, playing by rules that guarantee your defeat. They will twist your words, change the subject, and deploy smokescreens until you are so disoriented that you end up apologizing for bringing the issue up in the first place. To neutralize this, you must adopt a stance of radical, unyielding non-engagement. You must learn the profound power of becoming utterly uninteresting to the parasitic personality. When they attempt to draw you into a maze of circular arguments, you do not follow them. You state your limit clearly, neutrally, and factually, and then you stop talking. You become a broken record of calm, assertive truth. If they accuse you of being cruel, you do not soften your stance with apologies. If they attempt to induce guilt, you observe their tactic with clinical detachment, recognizing that their disappointment is entirely their own responsibility, not a problem for you to solve. You must become completely comfortable with the heavy, awkward silences that follow a firm refusal. Let the silence hang in the air. Let them sit in the discomfort of their own thwarted manipulation. By refusing to provide the emotional reactions they so desperately crave, the frantic explanations, the visible anxiety, the tearful apologies, you starve them of their primary fuel. You begin to reclaim the psychic energy that has been siphoned away from you for years. As you hold your ground, a profound shift occurs within your nervous system. The anxiety that once paralyzed you begins to mutate into a cold, clear, and focused strength. You are no longer suppressing your innate aggression. You are integrating it, channeling it into a protective shield that surrounds your life. You begin to trust your own perception of reality over the distorted mirrors held up by those who wish to use you. This is what it means to become truly dangerous. It is the quiet, terrifying realization by a manipulator that you see them with absolute clarity and that you are completely immune to their illusions. They realize that the territory they once pillaged at will is now a heavily fortified citadel. They cannot guilt you because you have made peace with your own shadow. They cannot shame you because your self-worth is no longer tethered to their approval. You have stopped playing the fragile role of the nice person, and you have stepped into the formidable reality of being a sovereign, integrated human being. As you hold this line of radical non-engagement, a profound psychological event occurs. Experts often refer to this as a great awakening. The heavy, suffocating fog of confusion and self-doubt that has plagued you for years begins to evaporate. You finally realize that you cannot fix this manipulative person, and more importantly, you completely stop trying. You stop judging them by the invisible, noble intentions you use to project onto them out of your own goodwill, and you begin to judge them strictly by the reality of their actions. When you strip away your own desperate wish for them to be a decent human being, you are left with the sterile, objective facts of their behavior. This realization is incredibly painful at first, but it is the pain of a surgeon setting a broken bone. It is the necessary discomfort that precedes true, permanent healing. You realize that their absolute inability to respect your boundaries is not a reflection of your inadequacy, but a permanent, unchangeable feature of their disordered character. You release the exhausting burden of trying to change a reality that is completely outside of your control. In this newly liberated space, you begin to construct an impenetrable sanctuary within your own mind, what ancient philosophers understood as the inner citadel. This fortress is built on the absolute certainty that no one can coerce you, shame you, or manipulate you without your subconscious consent. You reclaim your agency, understanding that true power in this world is never freely given by those who wish to exploit you. It must be deliberately and unapologetically taken. You stop asking the world for permission to occupy your own life. The massive amounts of psychic energy that you previously bled out into the bottomless pit of the manipulator's demands are now redirected entirely inward. That energy becomes the fuel for your own ambitions, your own physical vitality, and your own uncompromising standards. You no longer walk into interactions hoping to be spared or liked. You walk in knowing that you are fully equipped to defend your territory. This is the psychological summit you must reach, but many people falter just before the peak. They suffer from a strange, hidden fear of their own highest possibilities. When you suddenly possess the capacity to assert yourself, to speak your mind without a tremor in your voice, and to walk away from toxic dynamics without a shred of guilt, it can feel entirely alien. You might shiver with a strange awe before your own newfound strength, terrified of becoming the very kind of dominant force you once shrank away from. But you must not retreat from this growth. You must understand that possessing the capacity for ruthlessness does not make you a villain, it makes you a sovereign individual. There is a monumental difference between a tyrant who uses their power to crush the innocent and a master who uses their power to fiercely protect their own peace. When you integrate this darker, stronger side of your nature, your entire definition of goodness undergoes a radical evolution. You realize that your past niceness was merely a survival strategy, a white flag waved preemptively to avoid conflict. When you help someone, when you show compassion, when you compromise, it is no longer because you are too weak to say no. It is because you are strong enough to freely choose to say yes. Your generosity actually means something profound now because it is backed by the absolute capacity for force. People will sense this shift in your baseline frequency. They will see it in your posture, hear it in the measured cadence of your voice, and feel it in the steady, unblinking focus of your gaze. You will no longer attract predators looking for an easy mark. Instead, you will attract equals who recognize and respect the formidable boundaries you have established. The illusion of the nice person must fade away so that the reality of the authentic, dangerous, and truly good person can be born. You have spent enough of your life playing a rigged game, twisting yourself into knots to appease individuals who viewed your empathy as a weakness to be exploited. The time for appeasement is permanently over. The time for endless, draining explanations has passed. You are no longer a supporting character in someone else's chaotic, fabricated drama. You are the architect of your own destiny, anchored firmly in reality and equipped with the psychological armor required to navigate a harsh world. Draw your line in the sand. Embrace the glorious, terrifying freedom of standing entirely alone in your truth, completely indifferent to the disappointment of those who can no longer use you. You have finally become dangerous, and because of that, you are finally free.